Good morning, how are we doing today? My name is James Sweeney, aka SplitSuit. Welcome back to another video. And today I want to show you how to do the flop types chapter in the Postflop workbook. For this, we're going to be using Flopzilla, and I'll show you exactly how to use this tool. And we're just going to go through a couple different examples from a couple different pages. Let's start by doing page number 39, which is the first of the flop types examples in this workbook. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so this first question is, how often is the flop unpaired? It's the only qualifier we're going to look at. And in order to do this with Flopzilla open, we can hit this little 3 bars icon right over here, and we can start poking around. So in here we have, let's just kind of show you what you would see when you first pop in here. We have each of the major kind of flop types right here in these major buckets. So we have the unpaired flops, paired flop on the bottom card, and then trip flops. And for this one, because we are only looking at how often is the flop unpaired, we can get rid of all of the things that are tripped or paired on either card and just look at unpaired. And we can leave everything checked because we don't have, again, any other qualifiers to work with. We don't have to worry about how high the board is or anything like that, or how low. We just can focus right over here. So without our hole cards, with 0 hole cards for us selected, there are 22 roughly 1,000 flops to deal with. And in this situation, roughly 18,000 fit the bill. And just for the record, down below right here are just a random sampling of flops. So you can make sure that these are actually fitting the bill that you're looking for. So if you look through here and you're like, hey, there's a paired flop there, you did something wrong. It's a really nice way of kind of being able to proof yourself to make sure you didn't make any incorrect selections. I've done that before, so make sure to take your time with this, especially if you've never really worked with this before. And then right next to it shows you exactly how often that pops off. So in this situation, 83%, so 83% of the time, the flop is going to be unpaired. Perfect. Now, in this situation, we also want to go a step further and say, okay, well, what if we had certain hands, right? What if we had ace king? What if we had pocket nines? This is very helpful for saying, okay, how do different cards block or not really impact things too heavily? So what you can do in this situation, ace king of spades is first up. So with the flop breakdown tool up already, you can just click over and add some dead cards. In this case, let's plug in ace king of spades. And you notice that the number is still 83%. We notice that the total number of flops dropped, right? It was what, 18.3, now it's only 16.2, but ultimately it's still 83% of the time. And that's not always going to be the case for the record, so don't over extrapolate there. And then we're going to do the same thing, but instead of ace king of spades, we're going to plug in the 9 of hearts, 9 of clubs, and you notice that we're still at 83%. Perfect. Good, excellent, nice and easy. But if we're going to go to number 2, how often is the flop ace high and unpaired? So you notice now that we have a qualifier, things are probably going to change quite a bit. So the easiest way to do this is in the flop values, right? We want to pick a board that is ace high. So the top card, this first row is the top card of the board. Second is the middle card. Third is the bottom card. So we want all boards that are ace high, which means we can select the ace for the first one. We can select every card for the second and every card for the third. And you notice that with 0 whole cards selected, we have 19%. So that's how often that is going to occur. Now, if we have ace of spades, king of spades, obviously we're going to block some of those out, so that's very important to know. How often does that happen? Drops us down to 15.4, round that down to 15%. Excellent. And if we had 9 of hearts, 9 of clubs, we're right back in the 19-20-ish ballpark. This actually rounds up to 20% because it's 19.7. Excellent. And if we pull up the answer key real quick, just to make sure we're doing all of this correctly, if we're on page 39, let's do the first 2 just to make sure. So 83%, yes, 83, yep. And the second one is 19%, good, with 15 and 20 after that, 15 and 20, perfect. And you notice that the ace high one comes up a little bit more when we have no blockers to it, and when we have some blockers to it, then all of a sudden we have a massive drop off. Definitely something to be considering in advance, especially if you're kind of hoping to flop things like top pair or so, or looking for specific kinds of textures. Understand how your cards do or do not block those kind of things out. That can be very helpful, a little bit more so in your off-table planning, but even in real time, it can be helpful to at least have a starter idea on how often these kind of things are going to happen, especially if you're looking to put yourself into smaller SPR pots. All right, now I just want to flip through a couple of these together just to kind of do a wider sampling of these kind of flops and make sure you understand how to set all of these filters. So let's start by doing page number 40, number 3. So how often is the flop rainbow and pairs? So we have a double qualifier there. Well, we're only looking for paired flops in this spot, so we're not looking for trip flops, we're not looking for unpaired flops, so we'll start with the flop one, nice and easy. And how often is it rainbow? So we don't want two flush, we obviously won't have monotone, we don't want two flush there, we just want rainbow. And in this situation, if we look what we have, 4.2, 8.3, I'm sorry, 4.2, 4.3. If we add all those up, we have what, 8.5. Let's just round that up to 9%. Excellent. If we were to add, oops, sorry, that's if we have 9 of heart, 9 of clubs. Always make sure to take your time with this, because if you're doing these quickly, it's easy to see how some of these things can sometimes get a little confused. So 4.2 plus 4.2, we're up to what, 8.4. That rounds down to 8. And if we had ace of spades, king of spades, then we're up to what, roughly, again, rounds down to 8. Double check the answer key, make sure we got that correct. So page 40, the rainbow, nope, the paired and rainbow down at the bottom, 889, 889, perfect, did that one correct as well. All right, let's jump over to page 42 and do number 3 together. So how often is the flop monotone with at least one Broadway card? Let's make sure to clear that out first. So monotone with at least one Broadway card, obviously that's going to be unpaired, right? Because we can't have a paired board that's also monotone. So you could set the unpaired, we only want monotone boards, okay, and with at least one Broadway card. So we want at least one Broadway card. This can be anything, this can be anything, right? So this will guarantee, let's just double check. We're gonna look through here, all monotone boards, that's good, they're all the same suit. And they all have at least one Broadway card. And that's the qualifier, right? It doesn't say with exactly one Broadway card, but it's this qualifier. So this should all work right here. We notice we're at 4.1%, so that rounds to 4. Excellent. If we had ace of spades, king of spades, then we're at still 4. And if we had 9 of clubs, 9 of hearts, we're still at 4. Excellent. Excellent. And notice here that when we're doing these images down below, these are not to say that we're only looking for the hearts. It means that we're simply looking for monotone in general. This is just to make sure the page doesn't look quite as horrifically boring. So it's not that we're looking for heartboard specifically. That's not the goal of this particular example. So in this spot, we're on page what? Page 42. We're doing number 3, the monotone with at least one Broadway, 4%, 4%, 4%, 444. Perfect. Did that one correct as well. All right, let's do one more together. This is on page 47, number 2. How often is the flop paired with 0 to 1 gaps? So again, the flop breakdown tool, we're just looking at paired boards, right? Because that was the qualifier. Paired needs to be flopped and gaps 0 to 1. So right here we have straight structure and we also have gap structure, same thing in the unpaired section, but for this we're looking for specifically either 0 gap or 1 gap. So we're going to get rid of the 2, 3, and over 3, get rid of the same thing in the paired flop on the bottom card. Everything else is good. There's no qualifier on monotone or unsuited or anything like that. So just adding these two up together. So 2.5 plus 2.5 gives us 5. Excellent. And then if we have ace king of spades, what's it drop to? Still roughly 5. And if we have 9s, excellent, we drop down to still roughly 5%. Excellent. Check the answer key real quick. Page 47, number 2, 5, 5, and 5. Excellent. So we did everything correct, and this is how we can start using the flop breakdown tool. Very, very helpful just for off-table exploration to be able to understand how often textures that you like or dislike, or how often things are really happening post-flop on the flop specifically. A lot of people really have zero idea, and having any sort of idea here can be extremely, extremely helpful. It can help you start planning for how often good things happen, how often boards come off where your opponent might be more likely to check fold. That can allow you to do a lot of extra things, both pre-flop and post-flop. But you have to know this kind of stuff, have this kind of technical understanding. Even just a ballpark understanding can be extremely useful for planning your line with more precision. So good luck doing this section. If you have any comments or questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Otherwise, as always, good luck out there and happy grinding.